A good mouse goes quite the long way, and depending on how important it is to you, it might make or break your gaming experience or even just day-to-day use. So, today we're taking a look at the latest from SteelSeries. Yes, their Prime series of gaming mice, and we have all three of them right here. So, are these worth your money? Are these worth taking a look at? Let's find out. Now, I'm pretty sure that most of you know about SteelSeries. They've been around for a very long time and are a major player in the gaming industry. As far as I'm concerned, when I started gaming back in middle school or something, they've been around. I've known them for that long. They've been around for a very long time. So, with that amount of years of experience, they definitely know a thing or two about mouse design. But it has to be said that the Prime series of mice aren't designed for the left-handed user. It's all strictly right-handed. So if you're a left-handed mouse user, well, you can probably click away right now. But regardless, let's talk about the design of the Prime, and the first to know is that the design is pretty much the same across all three variants. We have the standard Prime, the Prime Plus, and the Prime Wireless. If you remove the wire, they are all pretty much the same. Made primarily out of ABS polycarbonate, the mouse is shaped to the natural curl your hand does when you are at a resting position, and truth be told, it is pretty comfortable. I could use it for hours on end without any fatigue, and the mouse itself has a relatively light weight of 69 grams. The weight does differ depending on which model you are looking at. The standard Prime is the lightest at 69 grams, while the Prime Plus adds an additional 2 grams, and the Prime Wireless comes in at the heaviest at 80 grams. In comparison to other mice out there, they aren't the lightest, but I do still think that they are light enough for you to be able to do fast movements without much fatigue during long gaming sessions, and it does make it feel a little more substantial. Now, in terms of overall comfort, SteelSeries does state on their website that the Prime can be used in any of the three main methods. But personally, I do find that because of the slightly steeper arc of the mouse, I couldn't really use a fingertip grip. It gets uncomfortable for me as I'm trying to curl my fingers a little too much. My hands aren't that big either, so for my use, the claw grip or the palm grip was far more comfortable. However, if you have larger hands compared to mine, well, perhaps fingertip grip might be alright for you. As for the buttons, all three of them have the exact same setup. You of course have your left and right click, a clickable scroll wheel with RGB, and 2 additional side buttons on the left. This is pretty much as standard as you can get. Not too basic, but not too fancy either. But the switches themselves are something new from SteelSeries, which they call Prestige OM Switch, in which OM stands for optical magnetic. Now, I'm not going to bore you with all the details. If you want to find out more about these Prestige OM switches, you can head over to SteelSeries website and find out more. All you got to know is that it is rated for 100 million clicks, and it maintains a consistent click force throughout that lifespan. Now, obviously, I have not clicked this 100 million times. I wouldn't even come close to that number if I have to use it every day consistently for years or decades on end. But what I can do say is that the force required for the main clicks, the left and right clicks, that feels a little bit heavier compared to most of the competition out there. It's just something to take note, but I do feel that the click itself is still very satisfying, and I guess with a heavier force required, it does reduce the occasional accidental presses. But now let's talk about the sensor and features, and this is where they are all very similar but also different at the same time. Let's start with the Prime. The Prime features the TrueMove Pro Gaming Optical Sensor, and it's capable of up to 18,000 CPI, up to 450 IPS, and up to 50 G in acceleration. Now, this might be jargon to some of you out there, but in short and in practice, it basically performs just as great as the competition. It tracks well, moves where I want it to be, and if I'm doing badly in the game, well, that's on me, not the mouse. Apart from the sensor, you do also get a multi-function button here, which allows you to quickly switch your CPI by pressing once and your polling rate by pressing and holding. Which setting you're on can be seen via the change in color on the scroll wheel LED. By default, CPI settings can also be set via the SteelSeries GG software, and it'll be saved onto the onboard memory on the mice, so you can have your settings wherever you go as usual. We now move on to the Prime Plus, and this gets a little bit of an upgrade. The main sensor itself is actually the same as the standard Prime, so no changes here. It's great. But on the Prime Plus, you get an additional lift-off sensor and an OLED display. The liftoff sensor basically alters the liftoff distance at which the sensor continues tracking a surface, which you can customize via the software. The higher the value, the higher you can lift the mouse up and still track. Simple as that. What's more interesting, however, is that OLED display. This is really interesting and it's very well implemented here. Now, instead of relying on the LED color on the scroll wheel to tell you which setting you are on, everything is right there on that OLED display. It makes it so much more convenient. But that's not all. Using the multi-function button and the scroll wheel, you can actually configure a whole lot of things on the mouse without using the software. You can select and save different CPI settings on the 5 available profiles, you can change the RGB, you can also change the liftoff distance and more. Honestly, what you can't do would just be the reassignment of functions for the buttons and macro stuff, but the rest are pretty much accessible. All of this without touching the software. We now come to the Prime Wireless, and just like the previous two, it has pretty much the same sensor with just a slightly lower IPS and acceleration. And I guess it's called Air instead of Pro. With it being wireless, it loses the OLED display for obvious reasons, and so it uses the simple functionality of the standard Prime. But you do get a slight upgrade with PTFE mouse fit instead of standard ones. Though, if you want to upgrade to PTFE on the Prime and the Prime Plus, that's easily doable as well, as SteelSeries do sell them and it's easily removable. As mentioned, the Prime Wireless is a little heavier, coming in at 80 grams, and you can definitely feel it. But perhaps thanks to the use of PTFE, it glides smoother compared to the other two, and so overall, they perform and feel very similar in my experience. The Prime Wireless will also last about 100 hours on a full charge. Included with the Prime Wireless is a USB-C wireless adapter, a USB-A to USB-C cable, along with a USB-C to USB-C extension dongle. The extension dongle is quite a nice touch because you can have it on your table in front of you, and it basically ensures you have the best connectivity to your mouse. It also allows you to easily swap to wired mode should you want or need to. So finally, if you're looking for a new mouse and you're interested in the Prime series from SteelSeries, well, which should you look at? If you just want something basic but a good performing mouse, the standard Prime is going to do you just fine. And again, they are all sharing the same sensor and you aren't really losing out on anything, really. It's also the most affordable of the bunch, coming in at $69.99 US dollars or 119 Singapore dollars. But if you're willing to pay a little more, you can go for the Prime Plus. Performance is going to be the same, there's no difference there. But the additional features such as the OLED display and the liftoff sensor does enable you to get an experience that's a little bit more tailored to your liking. Not to mention, it also makes quick adjustments and stuff like that way easier. The Prime Plus will set you back $89.99 US dollars or 149 Singapore dollars. And finally, if you like the design of the Prime but need it wireless, the Prime Wireless is what you want, though it is also the most expensive, coming in at $139.99 US dollars or 299 Singapore dollars. Overall though, any of the Prime series, any of the models, they are just going to perform great and they're just good mouse in general. Now, are they perfect? Well, of course not. Personally, I would have preferred a USB-C cable for both the Prime and the Prime Plus. I would have also preferred that the multi-function button to be on the top instead of the bottom for the models without the OLED display. And I do feel that PTFE fit should at the very least come by default starting from the Prime Plus. I also do have to say that while the Prime series did perform great, pricing in their respective segment is very competitive at the moment, so you definitely have to do your research. Last but not least, when choosing a mouse, comfort should always be your top priority. If you have any questions, let us know in the comment section down below. If you'd like to, do check out the affiliate links in the description as well. If you do, thanks for support. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Till the next one. See ya!